It's time to awaken and remember who you really are. It's time to live a life that you absolutely love. And it is time for the awakened being. Conversations to create change. Having real, transparent conversations that will change your world. And together, we can change the world. Hello, my beautiful beloveds. I am so excited to share this show with you. There is no too much in your wholeness. Joined by my glorious divine sister and divine ally of light, Katerina Satori, we go deep into looking at how leaders have been hiding because you're afraid you're too much, how there's been deep programming from the time you're little of being too much, and all the ways that we get to transmute this and alchemize this through our journey to see it for what it is and allow yourselves to be in your wholeness and all that you are. So if you guys haven't yet, a quick reminder to go to marcilock.com or where the show is at. You can always grab the activation for free, The Ultimate Life of Having It All. If you're struggling with anything in your life, any resistance is simply there for you to learn how to alchemize and transmute and heal what it's revealing to allow you to receive what's on the other side, which is greater and greater awesomeness that's available for you. So check out if there's any coachings that are specifically around something that you're struggling with, any activations or meditations. And my highest recommendation is the tribe, because you get access to the programs, the support systems, my Q&As, live calls, etc., all the goodies. So just know that we are here to support, and you are fully worthy to be in your allness and in your wholeness. Enjoy, my friends. It is time. That's how I felt like starting. It is time for something so fucking epic, because I am with the person I consider to be my greatest mirror and reflection, my twin ray of light, my soul companion. I'm talking with the glorious Katerina Satori.
I love this introduction. Keep going.
Keep doing it.
There is not too much of that.
There is never too much, and that's exactly what we're talking about. So if you guys have experienced the show, Talking All Things Boobies with Katerina, you know who I'm talking about. If you haven't checked her out, KaterinaSatori.com, Katerina Satori on Facebook. This woman is the most glorious light being I have pleasure and honor to be with. So she's actually with me here in Bali now for my sacred entry into the 40th level of mastery, celebrating my birthday, because she's my divine bestie, ally of light. I was here in Bali and I had an experience pop into my field twice in like a really short period of time of being too much. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I haven't experienced that for a while, that reflection. And I messaged my girl here and she was like, well, sweetness. And you guys want to listen in for this nugget. You're going to write this down. She said, there are no holes in your wholeness. And I was like, ching! And I just really wanted to create the space. Oh, and we got thunder and lightning in the background. They're like, bringing it. This is so much light. Listen up, motherfuckers. Yeah. Lightning. That's what's happening behind us in this Bali space. So I really wanted to create space to have the conversation with someone who reflected as much as I feel like I've gone the journey to, and could bring literally the truth and the information and the wisdom to this conversation about, first off, we're talking about leaders who have hidden because from the time they're little, they're told they're too much, from all the collective programming from the time you're young that's like, sit down, be quiet, look this way, you don't want to be too much. And just the journey that we go through in accepting and fully discovering. I always say that the only job we have here is to fully discover all that we are and express it fully. This divine light being for me is someone who reflects being all that we are and, you know, the crazy shit story of too much. So that's what we want to dive into, my love. Mm-hmm. So excited to be here with you.
So grateful to have this super intimate conversation, because when you hear you're too much, it fucking bites. It hurts, you know, on some emotional level, because that wound got created usually in the childhood, like you said.
Yep.
So this is not the first time you'll get that message. And through the process of standing in your power, you develop your ability to discern what is true and what is an illusion. I just compare it like loneliness visits and loneliness bites, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an experience. So hearing something like you are too much can feel like a bite, like, ouch, right? And that's why it's so important to have in your life very strong mirrors who can reflect divine truth in the moment. What was an experience for us, and it actually brought us to a deeper level of intimacy between us and gave us a rich topic for conversation. Every time this experience shows up, I'm like, thank you for giving me a rich topic for a conversation that so many people can relate.
Yeah. I want to drop back into like where this begins, because a lot of times for people, it isn't getting a message that they're too much. Someone doesn't say you're too much. We can take on beliefs around how we're too much. And so I wanted to kind of talk about our journeys with that. I notice in the programming of the collective, like I said, from the time you're little, it's like, you have to act a certain way in a restaurant, act a certain way in church. Well, all it is really being big energy. And we look at kids, how kids are just in exploring. And from the time we're little, that's like they're in discovery. It's like curiosity of like, ooh, do I like this? Ooh, do I like that? And being like vocal and expressive. And what happens the moment a child has a big expression, it's shh, it's okay, you're okay, calm down, be quiet. And so we learn to suppress our expression and suppress our emotions from a very, very, very young age. And then when we are big, so it's not necessarily you're too much, it's just learning subconsciously to shut that down. And as you and I were talking about, where did this really start? The first time you remember too much. And I grew up in a very strict religious environment where, you couldn't be seen, couldn't be heard, especially as a woman, but also just had to do exactly what God wants you to do. And I have this memory of, for the first time, like sitting around the dinner table, and for whatever reason, I said the word penis. I was little.
It sounds like
and
you would do.
Yeah, right. It's like my true discovery self. You know who know how I am. I'm super go to the sexual stuff first and fast. And I just remember like I laughed and I thought it was funny. And my whole family, like my brothers and sisters were like, oh shit. Although you would never use that word. It was like the energy just was like, you're in trouble. And my dad was like, so like, we don't say that word. Like, again, it's like even, saying words is bad. And so that was my first memory of being like, oh, I'm not approved of here. I'm rejected. I'm not accepted. And then I shared with you how the unconscious decision I made was when I was dating, and how it was like after going my journey, where those of you that don't necessarily know my story, coming from a cheating husband, got divorced, etc. And so as I started dating, it was like, I would always be the coach, right? Yes. I was the one that was living in the very conscious awareness of the words that I speak, the energy, the actions I do. And so again, in my level of loving myself and knowing myself and what I felt I was worthy of, I was attracting men who I had to almost teach those things. It came into my field several times where it was just like, I don't know if the words were necessarily too much, but the words were like, you're just like, you're so always on, meaning you're always conscious of everything. And that was too much for them to handle. And so it ended up coming back and feeling like I was being rejected because I was too much and these men couldn't handle me. As I went down my journey, I was like, holy fuck, I've just been attracting the wrong men, right? Yes. And learned to align to, only the beings who could reflect that. So it was interesting for me when I shared with Katerina when this came back up, which it had been years since that reflection came in, and it happened twice in the same week. With a full moon, I went out and I was totally doing all my woo-woo stuff. I was called out to, and I was in full expression, totally having orgasm with the universe. And as I shared this with the guy that I was in, perfect lovership experience with at the time, just noticed his energy like, whoa. And he shared with me, and I said, I just noticed your energy shift. Is there something that, came up you want to share with me? And he's like, that's just, that's a lot. That's like, it's like too much. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. This is the thing that I want to bring to what I knew, and why it didn't affect me or trigger me. I just found that very interesting. Is I know the truth is whatever I'm reflecting for someone is not about me. It's about them. So it's like how, if I'm too much, it's simply because that's a part of themselves they haven't been willing to own or to see, like that I can be that big. I can be that expressive. I can be that woo-woo. I can be that multidimensional. I can be that capable. And I knew with this person it was very much a contract of shining a certain light. We had a certain contract to experience. But I was like, oh, that's interesting. Of course, I know that just reflects what inside him he has not been able to reveal and heal and love, of being able to be that much with yourself. And so the key point I want people to hear is that whatever you judge as too much in someone else is simply a reflection of what you're not able to be within yourself and heal within yourself. So it's like, oh, thank you, sweetheart. I'm a reflector for you of, how big and expressive. And it's really just about big energy. So if someone sees big energy and it's like, whoa, 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 that's a lot of energy. You know that we are big energy carriers and we carry a lot of energy. Yet, what was your first time of remembering being too much?
Yeah, for me, it was all about my sexual energy that people used to misread. Like I was born with magnetic energy. And
yeah, you were.
Right?
You're so fucking magnetic.
So that magnetism...
I'm drawn to you.
That magnetism was attempted to be suppressed. It's like, hey, your looks are dangerous.
Oh,
so,
wow, yeah.
Your beauty can get you in trouble. Your looks are dangerous. So
she is fucking sexy, like all the time. Glory, glory, glory. And that's a beautiful reflection for me. I'm always like, your divine beauty is such a beautiful reflection.
You always give so much generous appreciation of naming what you see. So my emotional tank is always full with Marci.
Because you're so worthy of that.
You're so amazing. Yeah, but I had an experience, of 10 years of voluntarily strict Christian path where I think unconsciously I was looking to blend in.
Yeah.
And because of all those unconscious messages, and at that time, Baptist church was a perfect scenario because we were wearing long skirts, there was no makeup. The more plain you looked, the more you would fit in.
Yeah, the more accepted and safe you were.
And safe you felt.
Don't stand out.
Exactly. Be a part of the group. So it's very interesting, when I was coming into my power and I was going through a very natural rebellious stage, right? When I was, really bringing out, the Burning Man was such a liberation point for me because Burning Man was the first safe cocoon, where I was able to begin to shed those conditioning masks and be like, oh, if I look like this, am I accepted? People are like, yeah, more, you know? So for me, that was the crucial transformative journey. I went to Burning Man 5 times, and the community there was so loving and accepting that I was receiving, kind of encouragement. It's okay to be you. Reveal your beauty, reveal your weirdness, right? And be all that you can be. All parts of you be. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for that experience, Marci, because it literally compressed so much of that learning curve, because going from a very strict religious background, to finding yourself, finding your true self, it can be quite a journey. So I'm really happy that we're talking about this, because on the path of leadership, where you continuously being called out to be the container for bigger soul power and soul light, there is going to be this process, right? Where somebody will call your presence on social media as too much, right? Or your message as too much, or the way you express yourself as too much. So to have a clear eyes of how to navigate this experience is so powerful.
I want to take that and give some examples of us rising in leadership and where that can show up. This showed up for me in that first time I said fuck on stage. Coming in, I was raised in Utah, Mormon environment. And as I was called to start speaking and expressing, I committed to just being an open channel to let whatever comes through, comes through. I remember the first time being on stage, and all of a sudden the word fuck wanted to come through, which I had never really said. And I noticed myself, it wanted to come out, and then I suppressed it. And after I got curious, I was like, whoa, first off, okay, why would I suppress what's coming through when I was being an open channel light? And I said, okay, what I notice is I'm afraid if I say fuck, the people in the audience will first think I'm not religious or spiritual, or I completely not hear my message, that they'll judge me, that I'll be rejected, that then they won't be, able to receive what's actually there. And then I got more curious. I was like, well, let's get curious about what is the word anyway? Why would that word want to come through? And it's like, we all have attachments and labels to the word. right? It's like, oh, because my old attachments were, oh, if you say fuck, you're a bad person. You're, not spiritual. I remember having the experience being on a bus somewhere where these guys were using the word, and I was like so offended. I was like, ugh, there's just the words and the language. And it was like, that's again what I was not able to be within myself, of that level of expression and freedom. And what I recognized is I was like, well, maybe that's why God is bringing it through me, is that it is to trigger the human level of consciousness. I wasn't being like, I'm going to say fuck. And like, there wasn't a motive for it. It was simply what wanted to come through. And as I realized, well, maybe that is exactly why that's coming through, is because it triggers people to look at where they're judging, where they're projecting, where they're blocking off. And as I just said, okay, you know what? I committed to being an open channel. And the next time I was on stage in Utah, literally fuck wanted to come through, and I let it fly. And what I found, because there was two things. There's people that are like, I got this message for years, especially in Utah. And as I, grew into a different platform, it was like, if you could just not say fuck, then you'd attract so many more people. And then there was the other side of people that were like, wow, you gave me so much permission to fully be me and see that they could expand beyond the constructs of their religion, etc. And I remember the first time this came through, I was actually speaking at a friend's event, and his mom was in the audience. And she's this sweet old woman who's totally religious. And she came up to me and she said, when you first said that, I felt myself go, like pull back. And she said, and then I heard your message about being perfect and whole and complete and seeing what we're judging and all this. And she's like, it just changed my life. Like, she was open to the word fuck. Now my mom's open to understanding why that comes through, etc. So as we question what these things are, like, and get curious, that gives us liberation. Be like, oh, here I have a story, an attachment, and a label, and an expectation. And what we're really doing through this journey, again, as I shared, that for years I would have people message me and say, give me advice. Again, now we talk about that as when you want to give advice to someone, when you just throw it on them versus you're asking for the advice. That's why, I don't give advice out. If someone asks me, I'm happy to contribute, but I have no desire to prove or to share, have someone believe what I believe, etc. So it's interesting to get these messages for years where people are like, oh, we'd really love to promote you or this, and you're like, if you could just not swear or not say this word, then we could, or then you'd have so many more people that would be drawn to you. And I was like, well, that's interesting. My fucking results don't lie. My results were I catapulted way beyond anyone that was hiding or trying to fit in, because what it actually did was it filtered out the people who I was too much for, because they weren't at that level of readiness for themselves. Because I share with leaders that I work with, this happened just recently in Australia. One of my personal clients got to speak on stage, and the day before, she's like, she opens portals. We've activated so many of her gifts. And she was like, I was wanting to just say I do this, but she's like, I'm really not sure how the audience is going to respond, and I should fill into it. And I said, listen, sweetheart, I said, you stand and you fucking declare who you are and what you do. I said, you don't change who you are based on the circumstance, because then you're being a bitch to circumstance. You're waiting for their approval to be all of who you are. And I said, the moment you stand in who you are, literally the people who would not be interested in you filter out, and the ones who are waiting you to say, I fucking open portals, are like, whoa. I'm like, if I heard that, I'd be like, that is so cool. What I want to tap into that. I want to have that support. Let's realize this as leaders. When you suppress at all or hide who you are, what you're doing is attracting the people who are mediocre. You're saying, I'm going to suppress myself. And so there's a manipulation. So you're being manipulative. I'm going to hide who I am so I can manipulate, so I get your approval. Then what happens is they go, okay, I want to work with you. And the moment you express fully or be yourself and activate those gifts that you have, they're like, whoa, too much. That's not what I signed up for. And then it becomes a shit show. You attract people who are going to be hard and a struggle because you're not in authenticity. They are authentically not a match for you. So when I saw the truth beyond the illusion, right, I was like, fuck. I get to be fully who I am. And my client, she stood up there and she proclaimed who she was. And she had people literally shoot up like, oh my gosh, I want to participate with you. And then she had feedback where someone was like, they said they were sitting next to someone. And the moment she said that, they were like, whoa, that's a little much. I was like, exactly. Good thing you fucking said that. So the person is not interested in working with you. So really our call and our calling forth for not only everyone I would love, because we bring forth these new earth codes, but also leaders, it's a journey back into our authenticity. When I become fully authentic in who I am, that actually gives so many more people the permission slip and the example of what standing in that is. And so when I saw it clearly, and people would message me, say, oh, if you could just be this, and thank you, I appreciate that, I can honor your perception, and this is what's true for me. What I experienced from that was catapulting of receiving the results. And so people know me, even your first interaction with me, you were like, I knew her as a very unapologetically expressed leader. Yeah. And that's all you knew, because that's also what I saw as such a gift. So many people would message me or come to me and say, I love you because, and I learn from you because I can tell you're not a filter. You're not holding back. You're being raw. You're being real. You're being transparent. And I'm like, yeah. And that's actually the only way we know how to live now, because we've been practicing. It's a journey into your authenticity. Yes. That is why we're really here. And we were talking about that. It's like an awakening into the return of our authenticity. Because think about it. We were born perfect, whole, and complete. We're born like fully like in discovery and activating all our gifts. And the moment we start getting these subliminal messages and programs, we start suppressing. So you've just been suppressing for so fucking long. It's a journey for people to go, oh, can I actually feel what I'm feeling? Can I speak into what I'm thinking and feeling, and begin to have authentic, clear communication relationships where it's okay for you to be all of you. And whatever you're experiencing, there's no judgment. It's part of our journey to come back to our authenticity, to fully be who we are. And that's the only way, my friends, that's the only way we create a new life experience of it being the norm. And we know how easy it is to have conscious relationships where it's so fucking easy. There's nothing to hide, nothing to prove, no ego. We're just sharing what is, and it's like conscious communication. It makes life so easy. We make it so hard when we clutter and filter up the energy with hidden agendas and labels and attachments and expectations and masks that we wear. It's like, no wonder people make it so fucking hard.
That was so good.
Thanks,
wasn't
sister.
It? I'm just soaking all of this goodness in.
I love you.
So good. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. It's a journey of becoming natural.
Yes.
Natural. So it's actually unnatural to live suppressed and constricted and in so much fear to, oh my gosh, you know? But it's like this journey of being so natural with who you are and with all of your evolutions. And it's, you know, when I am around a natural person, what I notice, my nervous systems relax. I am not on defense. You know, I'm not on guard, because when you're with somebody who's leading with what I call a representative, and, you know, representatives are useful to a point, but eventually you begin to realize it's a construct. You get to shift it. But so many people lead with representative. And their true self is kind of like hidden behind
like an identity persona, they're trying to play into.
Yes, yeah, a persona. And you feel the difference when you are with a representative or when you are with a natural essence of a person, right? So when you are naturally yourself in your wholeness, there is only going to be bigger and bigger energy of yours. And then with more energy, you activate more of your soul magnetism. People ask, like, how do we manifest? How do we create? How we create everything from the inner planes is because we focus on magnifying our energy field more and more and more, right?
Yeah.
To fuse with the universal body that we have.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because I remember when I was asked to do the show, and it was a beautiful divine friend who has a massive following. And he was like, you know, conversation I want to have with you is sovereign leadership from spirit. He's like, you're the only person I know that, and this was Adam Roa, so you can check out that show. But he said, you're the only person I know who literally lives like you do, where you operate moment by moment of what feels good, what's most nourishing for your soul. You create whatever you want to create. Like, obviously, my shift in the next level of freedom for me to embody was, I go wherever I want to go, whenever I want to go, do and experience whatever I want to experience, serve however I feel called to serve. And that's my level of liberation. And he was like, and yet you do it, you run a multi-million-dollar business, you have a whole team that supports you, and you do it from a place of spirit guidance versus what we've known as leaders, or what we've been so ingrained with in programming businesses, masculine, structure, plan, think it through, mental. And there's a journey there of allowing ourselves to let go of those constructs, what we thought we had to do and used to know, to allow ourselves again to be authentic in each moment of like what feels good. And by living in that level of attunement, we're literally so clear with the energy of what comes up next and how the universe provides it. When we talk about wholeness and the aspects, what I find interesting is you're probably the only other person I've seen reflect. That's why we're such beautiful divine mirrors for each other. But reflecting, you operate the same way, where you create based off inspiration, whatever you want to create in total flow and guidance by spirit. And we live the most fucking epic lives. So that's a good result in and of itself. Yet what we've done in our journeys is we're continually leaning in and looking at how to expand our aura, our capacity, our multidimensional and human self, all parts of us. We've worked with, you're the only other person I know that has worked with all aspects. Like those that follow me know I work deep with the medicines, the sacred sacraments, plant medicines. I have my retreats that do that. Work with ascended masters. I work with the angels. I work with all aspects. And so it's like, plus we've done all the human stuff too, which is like, let's look at our unconscious programming. Let's look at our gene keys, which you and I have a course together on divinitykeys.com, or no, just Divinity Keys. Anyways. So it's like a lot of people will go, okay, I'll lean in one area where I feel safe and comfortable. And it's why I travel the world. I use sacred portals. I do all the things I do, and you do as well, is because we're like, how do we expand more of this part and this part and this part? And we are continually seeking the expansion. And what I want people to hear is the more that you are willing to lean in and go beyond those comfort zones and expand those depths, like I always say, the deeper you're willing to go with yourself, like what feels dark and the shadows and the fears and the pains and all those things, and you get to go be with those and be able to transmute and alchemize them to light, the higher you then are, the capacity, the aura, the energy you're able to hold and be with expands. And that just up-leveled your amount of bliss you can receive, pleasure you can receive, abundance you can receive, sensuality, lushness, you name it, magic, miracles. That continues to expand. And so it's the more that we expand into all that we are, the more that we actually lean into being all parts of ourselves, what others might call too much, is the way that you receive more, not to suppress it. It's completely opposite.
I'm just staring her in awe. Yes.
Yes, sister. Speak it. And this is a beautiful reflection right now of someone who, when you're in such high alignment, as we called each other in, we called in our divine allies. And Katerina was my first real true divine ally. And I believe you said I was yours as well. It was like we created Divinity Keys together. It was the experience of like you'd speak and I'm like, yes, so good. And I would so appreciate and honor her codes and her wisdom and her knowledge and her essence and every fucking part of her. I was just like, and then I'd speak and she's like, yes, sister. By being with all that we are, we hold the field for someone to be all that they are. Yes. And it's because we can be with all of ourselves that literally you can be with all parts of me and it's not trying to compete. There's no ego. No. There's nothing. We're just like in fucking divine honor of each other. Like, yes, be more, be more, be more. Like, be fucking more. So hopefully that's a beautiful reflection for people. If you're not experiencing whole and healed relationships that are literally a field of divine unconditional love, divine unconditional acceptance, and absolute support, there's some up-leveling to do.
Yes.
There's some cleansing and clearing and healing to do.
Yeah.
Aho. Maybe speak to the aspects of your journey of seeking into your wholeness then.
I really desire to fill into this answer.
I appreciate that about you. You're so authentic and operating from your heart. And the piece to this that I want to add as you're letting this sit in even more is, what I mean by this is there's no sacrifice or suffering. So, for instance, like I say, a model reflection of what I choose to be, and I know you are, is we're fucking badass business babes. Like, we run $1 million companies. We are so in our power and in our truth and in our authenticity. And we're so in our feminine and soft and working with the plants and working with the angels. So I see a split in society where it's very much like, okay, I got to be a badass business babe and I got to be in my masculine, or even for men too, because we both coach both, is that it's like, it's got to be structured, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. And there's a separation of how you can own fully being in alignment and attunement and the knowingness of I am so fully fucking worthy to be supported by the universe in every single way. You know, my mantra is I joyfully serve the divine in humanity while the universe and divine takes care of all the details, while I float in a constant state of bliss, receiving all I desire and require. Another one that I've been sharing with Katerina is I've been here and we've been laughing at how it's so true is everything is always within arm's reach. I'm like, I would really like a coconut water. And I turn around and it's like literally someone had set one right there for me behind me that I was like, oh, within arm's reach. As I felt dropped in to do my retreat, I was like, I felt like it's so close. It's easy. It's literally right next door, massive retreat center. Everything is already here for us the moment we declare we want it. So I really appreciate so much you as another reflection of someone who's operating so highly in business, which is led by truth and guidance. And you're also you're such a beautiful gift and teacher to me of also your level of working with ancient wisdom keepers, ascended masters, the angels, the plants, like all the things.
Oh, thank you, sister. I deeply feel that. You know what came through when I was in contemplation is this one verse from Tao Te Ching. And it says, everything is possible for those who are innocent. And another way to say it, when we heal the division within us, the division within our psyche between what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, we begin to return to our original innocence. And in Tao Te Ching language, it's virtue, the pure of the most pure essence that lays within every human soul. It's just covered with a bunch of crap, right, that we get to purify. But everything is possible to those who are innocent. So this is my kind of like an anchoring point. And I say, hey, if I simply remember to be in my innocence, I am always in alignment. I am always in my highest expression. I am always in my truth, because everything is possible for those who are innocent. And it's the moment we lose our innocence, we begin to hide because we believe in fear again, right? We create that separation. This applies so incredibly in business. When you're in your innocence, you stand, okay, this is what it takes to hire me, right? This is what I deliver. This is what I bring to the marketplace. You are in your innocence because you see yourself purely and you see other people purely, right? And that innocence, people will always remember how they feel about you.
Right.
And what is the different about your vibration is that purity.
Yeah, so let's take purity and the innocence to a way that we can bring the practicality in this. What comes up for me is when I have someone interested in my stuff, I have no fucking attachment or expectation. So I relate this to, as I coached, and I do coach a lot of the coaches and a lot of the leaders, it was like, you know, them getting on a sales call. And when you have expectation, and again, see, you're showing up with manipulation of like, okay, what do I got to figure out this person? What do I got to prove to this person? I'm like, dude, your fucking sales call is just a joy bliss game of like, oh, cool, I get to meet a new person. Let's see what this is about. Let's see, you know, what they're experiencing and if this is a fit. And I always said, if it's a fuck yes fit for me, meaning I don't give a fuck if they do it or not. Because there's that level of innocence. If I choose to get on with someone, I choose to be in my heart that says...
No agenda.
No agenda.
Yes.
Perfect neutrality. Like perfect way of like, you know, I'm here. So when you say innocence, I want to bring that into some inner standing. In that it's like, when I am choosing to just be fully authentic in all that I am, and this is a part of also with creating programs, etc. When people are trying to plan everything through, I'm like, it actually isn't authentic. I hold myself to authenticity. Whatever I say I'm going to deliver, I deliver. I believe in under promise, over deliver. And when I am open as an open channel and fully present with the person in authenticity, that's when it's like, ooh, this is what is the highest for their soul. Same thing I do when I go speak. It's like I have no agenda, no attachment. And that comes from a journey of going, listen, I don't need your approval. I'm not here to have you like me or, you know, to receive your acceptance or approval. I have nothing to hide, nothing to prove. I'm here as an open channel for the greatest, highest good. And by being that, literally what I've seen is the most phenomenal thing of what comes up and I'm led to is what is exactly each soul is seeking for their highest, greatest good. Whatever healing their soul is seeking. That's why everything I do is customized. It's not cookie cutter.
Yes.
It's why, like, you know,
there's no formula.
I'm going to create a space where I can literally then see what is ever in your system is blocking what is for you to receive is what gets to come up. And so from it being a sales call, if you recognize you're getting on with someone and it's like you have an agenda or an attachment or an expectation for them to buy in or etc., that's not coming from authenticity. It's not coming from presence or innocence of heart-centered consciousness of why you're actually just choosing to be on the call. The other thing that I feel really powerful to bring into the space is getting sucked into participation based on, again, these stories of what you think you have to do to make people like you, or you get to fucking create your own path that allows you to live the life you want to live. And it's really a choice. So this showed up as we lean into what's in the most nourishing for my soul, was to create more space, more freedom. Even like my team, I do my best to jump in and answer questions. I get, get messages, etc. Yet my team checks my Facebook Messenger if I'm off grid, if I'm doing things. And they just shared with me recently how they said one guy was so offended that I wasn't personally messaging, and and they're authentic. They're like, hi, this is Marci's team. We're checking in here to support while she's off grid. Here's this information you're looking for, or how can I support, etc. when people want to ask me stuff. And so coming from this idea of like, one person they said had been like, hey, can I just talk to you for 2 minutes? Which, what the fuck? There's never a 2-minute conversation. And because we're all here to support each other. And this other guy was like, well, the moment you lose the one-on-one touch, he said you lose something, and
you're not influencing enough.
And they're thinking like, first off, okay, let's attune to this. Okay, the level I can receive. So I always say that money is the amount of money I'm receiving is simply a reflection of how much I love myself. Number one, the value and the worth that I hold myself to, and how much value I'm giving the world. Now, if I was again buying into this way of, I've got to participate in what people think I have to be doing so that they like me. If I am out there to try to make everyone like me, I got to be answering your message. And I saw this for myself. I was like, someone messaged, I got to be messaging back. Yeah. That was a level of me letting go and be like, I'm off this time to this time. I'll check in at this time. And then going to more and more levels of our freedom. Just like we talk about like having a month sabbatical or, traveling all over the world. It's like, I'm always in my genius. Like I'll do what's in my genius. Everything else is not worth my time, effort, or energy. So it's like, do you really think that I could be influencing the amount of people in the world I am? If I was literally sitting on my Facebook, answering everybody's messages, we get hundreds of messages, sometimes a day, right? It's like, does that make sense? Yeah. And yet to the victim consciousness, it does. Well, you should be talking to me and I want to talk to her and can I just have a conversation with her, etc. It's like, now when you let go of, I fucking owe you anything. Now that can sound harsh, but I realize that my sovereignty is I came here perfect, whole, and complete. There is nothing for me to prove to anyone. There is nothing for me to hide. I actually don't owe anyone anything. I am here for my purpose. My purpose is me. My purpose is the discovery and the expression of me. And by being fully in my dharma and that expression and discovery me, I fucking share the greatest gift of my capacity and all that I am. I couldn't be doing that if I was like, let me do the things that are out of my zone of genius and let me be making sure I answer all the Facebook messages so you like me. You gotta fucking let that shit go, everybody. Let that shit go. So there is layers, and we talked about this with like, you're gonna be joining me in India, Colombia, and we talked about like these layers of going, I have teams to support. This just comes through in all the layers that we get to shed to be like, wow, like what is in my highest light? Yes. That is me in my fullest expression. And so it's seeing anything, we'll put it this way, anything that feels heavy. If you're like, okay, I gotta fucking get on and answer
any
these
obligation.
Yes,
energy.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any obligation energy.
Yeah, obligation energy is so last decade.
So last decade. We're in our 40s now. You're right behind me.
I'm 6 months.
Yeah, I just came a little bit ahead of you.
Yeah,
to pave the pathway in some things.
Trailblazer.
I am a trailblazer. Thank you.
I love that, sister. You shared about that we don't own anybody, anything, and for me it was the same liberation. Mm-hmm. We had that experience together at the same timeline where I had this massive epiphany that I don't own anybody, any insights. Mm-hmm. And I'm walking, talking, inside generator.
You are.
I'm like, wait a second. Here's another insight. Here's another insight. I found myself, there was quite an attachment of sharing my insights because it's a generous experience.
And it's also how you felt loved and felt validated, yes. Right? And so it's actually your own journey of seeing where, that's a shadow frequency. Totally. I'm wanting their love and validation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to see that and return to my innocence, remember what this journey is about. And then when I feel inspired to share an insight, it has a quantum power because entire universe supports the innocence, virtue. Really, the humankind lost the understanding of what virtue is, but virtue is the only thing we take after our 3 lower bodies dissolve. Virtue is the only thing we take to other lifetimes, right?
Yeah. If we're looking at this old program of say, for instance, you feeling the need to give everyone your insights, and you got to see where like, whoa, that's actually just my scared inner self, right? Saying it's an open ego in our human design, right? That says like, I need to do this so that people like me, so that I get validation. What you're attracting is everyone who just wants to feed off of your energy. I want your insights. I want your insights. Versus when you hold it of value, we know we're like, I only want to work with those people who are so fucking ready for all that I do and all in that space. It's not, well, can you give to me? And 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 I want. Those are when you get those people that I just want a conversation for free. And can't you help me with this and this? And there's plenty ways in my shift from working with just leaders to wanting to create ways. It was, as I went through India, it was very much how many more people can I serve? That's why I created my fucking show. This very thing that you're listening to. It's like, there's all these trainings for free. You do countless Facebook Lives all the time. So it's like, it's not to say, and I want people to understand, when we're operating from our highest value, we are creating the most good for the world. We're affecting the masses, and everyone can participate. Yet you get to see where it's of your highest energy. It's of your highest value of time. And as we did, we called ourselves to step forth into our own investments of learning and growth and expansion, that the law of parallel return says wherever you put energy into, you receive back. So if you put energy into your body in the gym, you get energy back. If you put energy into investing in yourself with learning and growing from a teacher, an expert, a guide, a master who's mastered these things, then you implement and integrate those things, you get it back. Now, if you don't invest in yourself and you go, I just want from you, I want from you, I want from you, I want from you, there's no energy of I am investing in myself to be able to receive back. So for me, when I began to see that I actually was not serving anyone, by trying to save anyone, by trying to give, I had to call them forth to step up and know, like, I get to take radical responsibility of my life. I get to choose to invest in my energy, my time, my effort, my money into saying, this is what I'm committed to growing and learning in. It was a huge shift for me to being the $2 an hour waitress, $10 to my name, 2 little boys to feed, and investing in my first coach that was $15,000 when that didn't even exist in my field. And what massively catapulted for me was because I was so highly invested. It was like, I'm fucking doing this. I get to, implement and integrate these things. So when we see that giving of ourselves in an unclean energy, which you saw was an unclean, I have to do this. Now notice the energy of I have to, I should, I need to. That's why you're only able to receive those people that are like, you need to do this and I want you to please me and help me, versus calling for the people like aligned to wanting your wisdom and being willing to invest the time, effort, energy. Because I look at you, Katerina, and I know the level of journey. I mean, this woman's story coming from Russia with $3 in her pocket and just the growth and evolution you went through, where we're both constantly in our expansion, like constantly, like it's what we geek out on and we're drawn to, is like, how much more can I open all that I am? I know the value of that journey. So it's like, that is what someone receives. We know the value someone gets when they're in our space. That's why VIPs are having personal immersions or, coming to retreats. It's like the experiential training of your cells being recoded, of you seeing having a new reference point and seeing a reflection of how someone operates is like, whoa. But that came from your whole journey to be who you are now.
Oh, this level of conversation. I love doing shows with you.
Yeah, I know.
This is so good.
Thanks.
This is so good. Yeah, sister, I love that. It's so, so powerful. It's so, I'm just soaking all of this in. I think I got a waterfall of wisdom on me right now.
I do create a lot of water.
Puddles?
Puddles.
Yeah. So from here, there is no holes in your wholeness. Choosing to expand, that a lot of people will experience you as having massive energy, but take it as a biggest compliment. Yeah, when you and I walk into a restaurant, I energetically feel people's aura shift, to kind of welcome our auras. It is just such a commitment and devotion for both of us to continue to expand, because we know the power of our energy body. Mm-hmm. This is why we create the time to go to the portals. Mm-hmm. We create the resources. We create the space for integration. It's, like today I wrote a post, acceleration is never random.
Yeah, that was so good.
It's not something that falls on your head. You're like sitting on your couch couch. I'd like to quantum leap. No, you go on the hero's journey and you do the things that most people will never do.
Yeah.
That's why we continue to choose the portals and activations and transformations, and we will continue to do this and to receive because we value that so much.
It brings up two things that I want to bring up to give a shift of paradigm.
Okay.
So as you said, take that as a compliment. When people say too much, that's why I was like, oh, that's interesting. And knowing the truth of it, I'm just a reflection for them of what still gets to be healed in love. You don't have to be dramatic about it. Like, there's no drama that has to be attached in someone having an experience. We can honor them as just having their experience. So it reminds me of my oldest Sky guy with both my boys, up until now that I've been on my global journey and they're experiencing somewhere else in the world. We still have our date nights or our date times on FaceTime, yet I have routine dates with my boys every single week. And Sky Guy and I were at a sushi restaurant because he loves sushi. And we're laughing our asses off. We're just laughing and joking and big and expressive. And all of a sudden I see his energy shrink. And he's kind of looking over constantly at this other table. And he says, Mom, those people are looking at us. And I said, oh, yeah, that's great. That's interesting. And he said, what if they think we're being too loud? What if they think we're being too much? What if they're judging us? And I said, oh, that's an interesting perception, sweetie. I said, what if they're actually thinking, wow, they're so happy. They're so alive. They're having so much fun. They're so energetic. I said, see, you can choose whatever perception you're looking for, and you can never know what they're actually thinking because you're not inside them. This is all based on, this is an assumption. I said, so now your choice is you can choose to live life the way that you want. You choose your own happy. Or if you're looking for and worried about other people, what you're doing is you're cutting off the flow of your life and you living the life you want. I said, what would you like to experience? He's like, well, I'm having fun laughing and playing. And I'm like, that's why we get to laugh and play. And I said, realize that we have an opportunity to share and show with people what this is like. And at that very same date, I shared with him how I went from being so scared to be seen and to heard. And like I said, as I started to come out of my shell, my intention was, okay, how can each person I interact with, how can I just bring a smile to their face or bring happiness? And it scared the fuck out of me. I remember being in the grocery store line and being like, okay, I'm going to talk to the checker. And what do I say? What do they do? And had all those human things come up, the stories. What if they think I'm weird? And I was like, my only intention is to be joy and to give happiness and love. And so that was why I started to practice with someone at the checker, because they're usually not too happy. Now, that's not true. There's plenty of happy checkers. Yet, there a lot of times they say, how are you? And they'd be like, I got 10 hours left on my shift, or 4 hours, or I'm tired today. And they say their things. And my only job is to alchemize everything to light and to anchor the light. So I'd be like, oh, well, good thing you're halfway there. Well, you look beautiful today. And I'm like, well, I hope that you have the best rest of your day. I really appreciate, and I could just, however I got to bring light into their world. And so as I shared this with Sky, he was like, huh. And so then we went to the store to grab some things, and he's like, Mom, I'm going to do it. Like, you go, baby. And so we go through the line, and the guy was just like, we're laughing, we're joyful. No, actually, we were just being laughing and joyful. I think this was later that he was like, now he made this intention. But the guy asked us, he said, wow, how are you guys so happy? And I said, because we choose to be. And Skylar ended up being like, how are you today? And he asked him questions, and the guy lit up. And then Skylar was like, that's when he was like, I'm going to make an influence every time I see. And it was so cool to see him play this game of like, how can I make this person happy? How can I bring joy into their space? So with that, it also reminds me of when I started to take cray and too much as a compliment. And I would start to speak out to other people where I'm like, cray to me is a compliment. And, looking for this level of when people witness me because I said, I'm not here to be normal. I am not here to be fucking normal. There's no way there's no way any of us, and I just want to bring into the field for people to remember this truth, that you have your own unique voice box. You have your own unique fingerprints, your own unique toe prints. You have your own unique experiences of life, your thoughts, your beliefs. Even if you're a twin who was raised in the exact same environment, no one, and on top of this, it's like 37.2 plus trillion unique cells. No one can be fucking like you. So the myth and illusion is comparison, or that you're like anyone else. So when we fully own, of course I'm different. Of course I have my own uniqueness. There's no way I could be like anyone else. I'm like, why would I try to create sacrifice or suffering in my life by having some story that I should be like you or fit into a box or model? Yeah, I'm fucking cray and thank you for that. I would literally say thank you. Yeah. our main intention of this conversation was to see what's actually available for you when you step into your wholeness, when you remember truly all that you are in your wholeness, and utilize these tools that we've given to integrate this into your life. Recognize where you're shrinking, where you're trying to please, where you're compromising. If you're creating sacrifice or suffering, that is not your wholeness. Katerina said, there are no holes in your wholeness, and there's never too much in your completeness, right? So we'll leave you guys with that. Is there anything else you want to add or share, my love?
I just adore all of you in your wholeness.
Yes, thank you. We promote your wholeness. We want you to be in your wholeness. I want to know all of you. I want to see all of you. I want to hear all of you.
Oh,
I love the messy. I love being in the journeys that I do with people. I'm like, I fucking love this. I love the messiness of the human experience. And I love seeing the multidimensional woo-woo, cray-cray, shamanista, shaman, priestess, priest, alien, all those things. I love all parts of it. And so if you don't have those people reflecting in your life, know that they exist.
Yes.
And that you can call in your divine allies who literally live and operate in the highest level of bliss and abundance and pleasure and play and growth and expansion and laughter and joy. And that is our norm.
That's our norm.
That is our norm.
I would love to share it with you.
Yes.
So if you feel, oh my goodness, something that you shared really moved my heart, reach out to us. Let us know what was that. And it would be such a gift to see you, to share Egypt with you.
Yeah,
Yes.
if it's in the highest
If it's in the
alignment,
highest
we will welcome you with
alignment.
open arms.
Yeah.
All right, my loves, I'm going to go feed this woman because I know she's
Feed?
hungry.
Yeah.
She's hungry, and we go off traveling tomorrow.
I love to eat.
Yeah, me too, lover.
Delicious food. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also love the fasting codes. All of it. It's just so, that's a wholeness of experience, right?
Yeah, right?
All of
There's so
it.
many codes.
Thank you for listening to this conversation. Thank you for so much for inviting me back.
Right.
so
Well, I mean,
honored.
after a booby conversation, what's next?
Right.
So just to let you guys know, the booby conversation I had with Katerina, because Katerina has led the way and she had implants and recognized,
breast implants.
breast implants.
Yes, because there's so
Not
many
ass implants, breast implants. I, however, had always had cute little boobies.
Yeah.
We shared the journey of what she had discovered of the sickness it was creating in her body and the illusions and all the attachments, and then how she went and got explants. And she's become such a leader standing in this light for people to know of what's actually happening and what's available. And so we had a beautiful conversation about her journey with that, and also learning to come into complete love and wholeness. So you guys can search for that show too, Talking All Things Boobies. I mean, it's a good conversation.
Fantastic. Powerful, liberating.
Yes. And we hope truly that those of you that are listening can really begin to witness, the perfection in all that you are. We love you, my friends.
I love you.
Thank you, my friends, for joining me for another amazing conversation to create change. To allow that change to take place, please integrate the tools so that you can really receive the change into your life. And I invite you to join us for even more in the Best Life Tribe and continue on your path and your journey. And remember who you really are, a divine being that is already whole, already worthy, completely deserving, and fully capable to now claim and live the life you love.